It is
It is
12:33. You are
12:33. You
listening
are
to the
listening.
Mid-Morning Talk on Salam Media with me, Mari Mukwanda. Picture this, right? You're in love. Maybe it's a fresh relationship, and or you're still getting to know each other. Maybe it's been a while, and your partner still gives you those butterflies. And then one day you're chatting, and it hits you. You and your partner totally disagree on having kids. How did this happen? There could be a number of reasons, but here's what you can do if you and your partner can't agree on kids. And to tell us more is author and marriage counselor Margaret Hungwe. Good day, Margaret, and thank you for joining me.
Good day to you, Marin, and everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Right. So, obviously, I think when this conversation about kids should be had, if you're having it in your relationship, whether 5 years down the line or 3 years down the line, I think it's already too late. So, when should the conversation about kids happen in the relationship?
All right. So, in a relationship, obviously, both of you are looking for something out of the relationship. So when you start to think about kids, it means that this relationship is now very serious, right? So instantly, that's when you need to start to talk about, okay, so how many kids do we want? What kind of a house do we want to stay in? What kind of a car, savings, and all those things? That's when it starts. The moment you fully realize that this relationship is actually serious, and I want this gentleman or this woman to be my wife or my partner for life, that's when you need to start having those conversations.
hmm So, how do you raise the topic? How do you decide, okay, let's talk about kids and how many we're going to have?
So, in a relationship, what is very important now in life is when you are very open. So, communication is important in a relationship. So, when you have now decided or you think that this relationship is serious and we want to stay together, then you start to have all kinds of discussions, not only about children, but also about finances. Why finances? Is because for you to have children, you need also to be able to look after them. So it is important now when you start to realize that this is serious, you talk, you ask a question. So, how many kids do you want to have? Or do you have any desire of having children at all? Or do you want to adopt? What is it? What is it that you are really looking out for in terms of family? Because, for an example, you as a woman, probably you want kids, right? So maybe your husband to be or your fiance has not thought about it or is not even thinking about it. So that's when you are able to just to say, oh no, actually my partner is interested in having children. So then when you have this conversation, it has to be very frank. Why? Because you often see right now when you get into counseling, some issues that were supposed to have been discussed early on in the relationship, people are now struggling with them in marriage, or people are now struggling with them when they are years in marriage. And you are wondering, guys, didn't you sit down to talk about all these things so that there is clarity from both angles? So it's important to make sure you lay it out there to your partner to say, this is what I'm looking out for in this kind of relationship as we now get to this next goal or this next milestone in our relationship.
hmm Now, what are some of the reasons why people would not want to have kids, and how do you respond to them?
All right. So there are various reasons. One of the reasons you find is that someone would say to you, Meg, I grew up in a very big family. We were so many, or my father was in a polygamous relationship. So I never got to have all the trimmings that I desired as a child. I didn't get the kind of schooling I wanted, the dress, the food, all those things. So I do not want my children to go through that. Then you also have another one who say they grew up in a very abusive a family where they were abused or where they saw their mother being abused by their father. So they do not want their children to relive or to even to see some of these things. Why? Because you see that in many instances, the people you find that are abusive right now, they might have seen the abuse probably from their parents or from a relative that they grew up staying with. So you find some of those reasons people get reserved to not want to have children. Then another one, you have someone saying, no, I really have no reason, but I just do not want a third party. I do not want a child. I just want to be me and my husband, or me and my wife. Then you find other women that say, no, Megs, I want to continue not to have children, not to disfigure myself. I want my figure intact in terms of my breast, everything. I want it intact. So if I have children, it's all going to be destroyed. It's stretch marks, it's boobs that are going to go bigger. So the reasons are so many. It simply boils down to the kind of person, or to that person who says, these are my reasons why I do not want to have children. And also as an expense, those that have got children, they would realize that a child comes with responsibility, not only financially, but emotionally. Imagine your child going to school. They need a parent who is present. So some people, they travel a lot. They do not have time to be with their children. Or some, they are not financially sound to look after the children. Or they are not there emotionally to be able to look after these children. So they realize that if I have these children, I'm going to do a disservice to them, because children on their own, they are also a responsibility that needs a mature person to be able to look after them.
Mm-hmm. Definitely very important points that you've just raised there. Now, often when a couple disagrees, a compromise can solve the problem. But then, how do you solve the problem of kids, since you can't have half a baby today and a full baby tomorrow, or you can't be childless for this number of years and then have a child on the other number of years? So, how do you solve this problem of uh, 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 wanting children or not wanting children, and how many?
So, as I said earlier on, that when you're actually in the relationship and you're deciding to settle down, you're now deciding to have children, or you're now deciding to have the next step of your life, it's important to talk about this. Foundation is very important in a relationship. If that foundation is shaky in terms of not being able to talk, or being able to be open up, or to even view your thoughts, where you're actually saying in the initial stage, you know what, I'm not up for the children, but I love you. So it's now to the spouse to say, you know, you have told me that you do not want children. I want children, but I am prepared to compromise, to say, to still stay with you without having children. But it is also very important to know that later on in the years, will you not feel cheated out of life to say, but I was supposed to have children? For an example, let's just say that it's a man who is saying that they do not want to have children. As a woman, we've got a biological clock that ticks, you know, and the gynecologists, the doctors are telling us, you know what, you need to have children at a certain age. And if this biological clock is ticking, will you still be able to have children? So won't you later on wake up one day and feel cheated out of life, that you were supposed to have children, and you now regret that I was supposed to be married or to be in this relationship with this kind of a person because I wanted to have children? So make sure you fully understand, when you do your compromising, you fully understand that it's for life. Because you're not going to wake up like what you've said, to say, now I think I can have a half child and then have a full one next time. You make sure that when you make the decision, it's a decision that you're going to stand with for the rest of your life, and you're not going to wake up and regretting. In case both of you are not so clear, you are still young and you are still debating, you know, it's still up there. One of the things that you could possibly do is, Mr. Gynecologist, you know, explain your situations. You know, we hear of sperm banks. We hear where you can actually keep your eggs, you know, for some time until you are ready. I've got friends that actually did that, where they actually simply just went in, have their eggs, they had their eggs set at that facility. After some years, they went back and they've got 2 children right now. So those are some of the options. Why? Because we do not want to have bitter people in life that are just walking around. You end up having these situations of people that go to hospitals stealing children, kidnapping children. Why? Because they now feel like they really were cheated in life, and they now want the children, and they now want them badly, to the point whereby they are now doing things outside the law just to be able to get a child. So be very clear, talk, compromise. If it's compromise, are you ready to stay with that for the rest of your life?
Mm-hmm. All right. And now, from what you've just mentioned, should the person who wants kids or doesn't want kids, should they leave or should they stay in the relationship in the hopes that one day their partner might change their mind?
It's very tricky, hey? It's really, really, really tricky. I have seen in some of the counseling sessions that we do where people, for an example, a couple, or let's just say the wife is born again, is a Christian, they serve the Lord. Then they find a husband who is not a Christian, who is all out there, and they say, you know what, I'm still just going to marry him in the hope that they are going to still give their life to Jesus later on in years. And they fully realize that that doesn't happen. And now they start to regret. So that is also some of the possibilities that you might have, whereby you just forge ahead, thinking that it's going to be something else in the future. They are going to agree. Maybe I'm going to convince them. Oh, we have this trick. Another trick that women might want to do is to simply fall pregnant. You know, if they were using any family planning methods, they simply stop using it and they get pregnant and they wake up and they steal their spouse. Wow, we are expecting. Many times those relationships, they don't stay. Why? Because the other partner was very clear. I am not ready and I'm not going to have children. And then you kind of trick them by getting pregnant without them knowing. So it impacts on the child, on that relationship as well as on the child. Why? Because if the partner wakes up and say, no, I never wanted and I never signed for this, please leave. It means now you are going to have a child that you are going to raise up by yourself when you wanted a family structure of both father and mother. So if it's not happening, I strongly suggest to you to reconsider, wait, or get out of the relationship. Find someone who is ready to commit and settle with what you want. Find minds that are actually working together, because there won't be any two ways about it. Come the future, you are by yourself. Why? Because you feel that you were supposed to have children. So right from the onset, probably just find someone else.
All right, so Margaret, we're going to take a quick break and we will continue thereafter. For anyone who has any comments, please leave them in the comments section or have them ready for us when we return. Please stay with us.
Riba, Perkat smells lovely.
Yeah, with Yakin, I managed to stop all the riba, Hajo. This insurance price is going up again.
Oh, we are not free of riba, Babu. You need to stop the insurance.
We have to have insurance, Hajo. You know how bad it is with all the crime and the accidents.
Have a little yakin now, Babu.
Yeah, man, I do have a little yakin. But I wish there was a way to leave all these riba insurance companies, man. It's my riba.
Babu, I can't handle this. The stench. It stinks.
Is that my underarms?
No, the riba stinks. Please find a way to stop this riba insurance, Babu.
Leaving riba insurance is easier than you think. Call Amana IFS for all your personal and commercial takaful needs. 0861 786 393. Amana, leave riba for good. Amana IFS is a registered financial services provider.
Kids these days are smart, and when you're competing for their attention against their smartphones, you need to make smart choices, like using Sunfoil triple refined pure sunflower oil in every meal you make. It's naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether you're cooking, frying, or baking, you get the great tasting results that'll get their attention faster than the latest app. And if that doesn't work, change the Wi-Fi password. Sunfoil. Now we're cooking.
Your act of love gives hope. Islamic Relief supports orphans and vulnerable children in 28 countries with food, education, and medical care. There are more than 150 million orphans in the world. You can give hope to one. Sponsor an orphan today. Go to www.islamic-relief.org.za.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
It's 12:47. You are listening to the Mid-Morning Talk on Salam Media with me, Mari Makonda, and we are talking about if you and your partner cannot decide on having kids and how many kids you would like to have, with author and marriage counselor Margaret Hungwe, also known as Megs. Megs, thank you for staying on the line. Now, what are your final thoughts and advice for our listeners, for our audience, regarding this issue of having children, deciding not to have children, how many children you want to have, and whether to stay in the relationship or to leave?
All right. In terms of how many children you might want to have, in case that you have actually decided to have children, it is very important also to be in agreement. As I said earlier on, children come with so many challenges, comes also with many responsibilities. So be fully aware of how many children that you want, and always ask your questions. Will you be able to give them a good life? Why? Because we can look at you can look at your finances, you can look at the economy of the countries. What it is like. Will you be able to do so? When you actually get into a relationship, or when your partner is saying, I do not want to have children, but you actually want to have children, ask yourself this question: that will you be able to stay with it for the rest of your life? You are a person who doesn't stay in a vacuum. You stay around people, you meet people, you go for parties, you go for birthdays, where you are being invited to go to a party as an auntie to say, come to celebrate this birthday. Will you be able to stay with that when you see other children running around, when you see other mothers breastfeeding, when you see other parents celebrating their children that they've done well at school or in sports? Will you be able to stay with that if you have actually decided not to have children at all? In situations where you find another partner wanting children and another one not wanting children, make sure that from the onset you decide to stay in that relationship forever. And forever, as I said, on it has issues with it. Are you prepared to walk that walk? And if not, rather than that you walk away, bring it to the table with your partner to say, you know what, my partner, I really want to have children and I also love you, but this is the situation. Can't we find a common ground? If you do not want to have a biological one, can't we probably adopt? If not, can't we just have one? If not, this is what I'm bringing to the table. What do you think? Be very clear and very honest, and you realize that partnership will actually work well for you. Why? Because we do not want a situation where you're going to stay in a relationship for the sake of the other. Remember, you also are part of this equation. You are also part of this relationship. So you also need to enjoy it. And enjoying it means just you have to enjoy it with all the trimmings that comes with that relationship. And remember, it's not only about you. We have extended families. We have got parents. Parents are saying, we also want a grandchild. So what are you saying together as you just make this decision as two people? Remember, there are people also that are looking forward to say, we want a grandchild, we want a niece, we want a cousin. What will be your thoughts? If you have said no, then that's still fine. But probably leave the relationship or try to compromise. But compromise has got consequences as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I have a question here from one of our audience members. Does my wife have the right to say she doesn't want a baby for the next 5 years? She's 21 and I'm 27, and we've been married for a year. I wanted a baby in a year or two. Is she being selfish?
All right, that's a good question, listener. So one of the things that you also need to do is to sit down with your wife, understand firstly what it is that she's talking about and why. Remember, earlier on I spoke about the vision. Every marriage or every couple needs to have a vision. Where are you going as a couple? What is it are you looking for in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? So these are things that you talk about and you now realize and know now. So that when the news comes to say, remember our vision is that, or remember, I want to develop myself. I'm going to school. After I finish my degree or this thing, then I want to have children. There has to be reasons why that is happening. If they are developing themselves, give them time. But this is discussed in the initial stages on the vision of the family. Gone are the past where we simply used just to get married and have babies, eat puppy in the evening, life is smooth. Not at all. Sit down, understand where you are going as a couple in the next 5 years. When you do that, you are going to realize that marriage actually is sweeter. It's sweeter like a lemon. I don't know if that is a good analogy, but it's sweeter like a lemon. Why? Because we have discussed and agreed. So coming to your question, when you say, is she being selfish? Not at all. Especially if you understand their position or you understand the reasoning behind. If the reasoning is not part of the vision of the family, now come back together. Say, wifey, this is what we have discussed, and this is what I am thinking as the head of the house. So this is where I think we should be as a couple. Then when you also discuss this, see what she's going to say to you. But above all, agree together. Not because she's a wife, so she's just supposed to hear you and get pregnant. That's not marriage. That is detectorship. Marriage is when two people come together and become one. So always know that whatever your wife is also reasoning or bringing to the table is very important. So how do you consider and how do you take such whatever that she's bringing to make sure that you bring it to be part of the marriage? Why? Because if you force it, you will see that you have an unhappy woman in the house. And an unhappy woman, you don't want that. It will be bad food today. It will be banging of doors. It will be silent treatment. Will you want that in a marriage? Think again.
As the saying goes, happy wife, happy life. So think
Yes.
about it. And just to add on what you said about the lady, I mean, she already told him that she does not want to have kids within 5 years, and yet he wanted to have kids in a year or two. So perhaps they should just wait out that 5 years and then see
Yeah.
what happens, because she did tell him 5 years, that's the time limit, that's the time frame that we have, and after that 5 years, then we will see from there what happens. But
It's very true, what you are saying, Marian, because in a marriage setup, it's not my way or the highway. You have to meet at a point where there is agreement and you agree. Not because I'm the husband, not because I'm the wife. Agree together. When I'm saying 5 years, it's because that's exactly how I'm feeling and because of ABCD. So my wife, when I'm saying 1 year, it's because of this. But from there, what can we now agree on together to make this work?
And like you said, we can't pop babies, because then we'd be like our parents, popping 14 kids, one every year. Unfortunately, times have changed, and that's not about to happen. All right, Margaret, thank you so much for your time and for that advice. It has been a very interesting chat, and I hope our viewers and listeners have also found it informative. Please share your contact details with anyone who might be needing them.
All right. So my name is Margaret Hungwe on Facebook. You can find me on my number, my cell number, 084 435 2045. 084 435 2045. On Instagram, you can also find me as Women of Substance International, as well as also on Facebook. I've got a page on strategic marriage management, as well as Women of Substance. You can find me there.
All right. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Miriam. Bye-bye.
Margaret Hungwe, author and marriage counselor, taking us through this interesting situation of agreeing or disagreeing to have kids, and how many kids you want to have. And if you'd like some more information from Margaret, you can give her a call on 084 435 2045 and find her on Facebook as Mags Hungwe. It is 12:56. You are listening to the Mid-Morning Talk on Salam Media. And if you have any further comments or questions, you can leave them in the comment section below, or send them to us on our WhatsApp line, 061 766 0355. Stay with us.